Hello, everyone. Welcome to May 19th, at least here in the United States. We are on a Thursday edition of the MSP Initiative Live. And May, we're in the final kind of stretch of May, a little bit more than a week, maybe a week and a few days, and we'll be officially in summertime. And that means all the vacations and parties and beaches and mountains and everywhere else that you go for some R&R come back. Probably at the highest time we've ever seen for gas, but vacation time will be here before you know it. But then again, we took a year and a half to vacation, right? So and everybody's staycations at home. Just some general housekeeping we do at the beginning of all of these sessions, and then we'll get into some topics of the day. So MSPinitiative.com under sessions, this session, every other session, and podcast and video format will be presented. Keep an eye out for our giveaway page. We'll finally make some traction down that way. Our community block parties, we have several planned for the year. I haven't quite announced them yet, but coming soon. Then lastly, what's happening right now and trickling in for the rest of the year is Channel Strong, which is our tailgate style bus tour throughout different parts of the U.S. here. We're on the last couple days here of this kind of Midwest tour. So we're in Lexington, Kentucky today, and in Nashville, Tennessee tomorrow. You can see a list of all of the Channel Strong tour dates here online on this Channel Strong page. And you can see the rest of the year is planned out and where we're going. And if you're in any one of these areas, well, we would love to see you. So that is all my housekeeping notes. And here we are. Another day in IT and technology land. If you do jump onto the live, I'll mute you. You can always jump in. I may even pick on you, but it is never dull in IT land. So a couple of interesting articles that hit my feeds, and some of them are kind of interesting because they feed off of each other. So we talked last time on this past Tuesday session about how Windows 11 is kind of started off, like people were adopting it, and then kind of went like this, right? They were reverting back to Windows 10. So Microsoft finally came out and said, hey, Windows 11 is ready for everybody. And we're like, oh, okay, right. And after 11 months, Microsoft feels that Windows 11 is in a good enough state for everybody to use, assuming your PC meets the requirements. So interesting that they're obviously making a push forward, because I think they saw like a screeching halt, and then things went down the opposite path, right? Where people were reverting. They're definitely trying to make the Windows 11 push. Remember, Windows 10 is still going to be officially broadly supported until 2025, midway through 2025. So there's still like a good 3 years there to figure it out. I know a lot of people don't rush to go to the newest operating systems, but Microsoft thinks you should. So, Tim, I'm going to pick on you, buddy. How you doing? See that? He came in to listen, and now I'm going to make him talk a little bit.
Oh, you wouldn't want to do that. That would be horrible. How are you doing, George?
I'm doing all right, man. How's San Diego treating you?
San Diego's beautiful. What can I say?
Yeah, you live in a great part of the world.
We do. That's why we're looking forward to October when you're down our way, and we'll definitely be there for sure.
Oh yeah, we can't. You made it out last time, which is awesome.
I did, and we had shields up a bit more last time, but things are beginning to relax a little bit. We're still not out of the woods. Southern California's cases are increasing, but hospitalizations are not. So we're on the wary side, but on the kind of wary side.
That's good. Well, hopefully we'll I'll see you before that, but if not, then definitely, we want to see it for sure.
Absolutely. No, but on the IT side, things are okay. It's interesting right now. People are beginning to hunker down a little bit and for economic news and say, do I really want to do this CapEx spend? And vendor channel saying, oh, well, hardware is a service, but we don't have any hardware right now because of the supply chains. Well, then that's just, I don't know, it's chaotic. It's tough to keep on, keep your commitments, and it's tough to stay on track. It's just too many distractions.
Yeah, no, totally get that. I mean, it's interesting on the supply chain side, right? With put Windows 7 aside for a second. Even just like, I think you're still a Lenovo guy, but like just generally speaking, right? Like, whenever I see people talking about orders that go in through distribution, it's, hey, 3 months delayed, 4 months delayed. I know people who are still waiting from back orders from 2021, and we're coming up to June of 2022. Craziness.
It's insane, and it's specific parts. I mean, the home office, Costco level equipment is pretty much there. We have several hundred monitors that are orders from January and February, supposed to be delivered in April and then in May, and now they pushed them to October. So we have clients with laptops and docking stations with no monitors, and it's a company spec, so you can't just go out and say, well, buy LGs or buy something else. So it's parts of the supply chain on the Lenovo side and other sides is just horrible. I mean, but it's sort of product specific.
No, I totally get it. Windows 11, what's your feeling?
It's worked pretty well for us. Some odds and ends that we need to sort of take care of and be aware of. But we've migrated the majority of our clients to Windows 11, and we have no huge gripes.
Okay. Well, it's funny, right? I said some of these news articles kind of piggyback off of each other. One is Microsoft saying Windows 11's baked, it's ready to go. Take it out of the oven, start eating those cookies. And then this other article came in where it said, hey, Windows Teams and Windows 11 hacked on first day of Pawn to Own, where basically it's like a hacking competition, bug finding competition. I'm like, wow, okay. Guess it's not that ready, because people have made some bucks here, just finding some issues, and Windows 11 was right there, as well as Ubuntu desktop. I'm sure not too many people are using that. And then it looks like Tesla Model 3 infotainment system could be interesting, but basically they found security vulnerabilities, and they basically, get paid to find these things so that the Microsofts of the world can actually go and plug these gaps. I guess we shouldn't be too surprised, huh?
No, I don't think so. And you just need to be on top of it and be aware as much as you can. But and then this morning, of course, I get the email from Microsoft saying, oh, you really need to move to Windows PC, Windows 365, and do this and trust us with your platform, and we'll spec out your hardware requirements perfectly and this and that. And I kind of like, no, dude. I mean, that's going to be a long way off.
Yeah, I find it interesting that Microsoft, as part of I think 365, what was it, Business Premium? I forget where they tucked it into. They announced this whole, hey, Microsoft's just going to patch your systems for you. And then like every Patch Tuesday, they're like, oops, there's a major problem with the Patch Tuesday. And I'm like, so how does that work? Does Microsoft flag their own patches when they're responsible for doing Microsoft patching and then turn it off? Like, I don't know. It seems a little bit of a, conflict of interest there.
Oh, there is no question, and it's only going to increase, which is what we're concerned about. Is that you, as an MSP, you're losing more and more control over certain things that are critical to your base and to your support structure, and that's been a common theme on a couple of the latest MSP broadcasts. And I just sit back and listen and say, yeah, I couldn't agree more. So I'm not a real participative guy. But so much of what's being bandied back and forth is hitting us, and we're small, but the issues are the same.
Yeah, it'll be intriguing to see. Hey, what's going on there, Darren?
How are you?
Doing all right, man. It'll be intriguing to see with the new Microsoft partner requirements and how many people continue down Microsoft lane, because like they're kind of forced to go that way. How much control, like I can see some IT service providers, MSPs coming out saying, hey, I can just put it on Microsoft and it's not my problem anymore, right? But then to your point, how much control, like those guys are like, I don't care about the control, let Microsoft deal with it. If it breaks, it's their problem. And it's like, But it does
Most bad.
eventually come back on you, right? Like Microsoft's not taking the help desk calls.
Yeah, it's going to come back on you because it's your personal relationship with your clients. So if I have a bunch of clients out there and they say, well, we recommend that we move it all to Windows 365, and then things start breaking, they say, well, that was a subpar decision, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, listen, like there's a maturity level to all of these things, right? There are some MSPs who, the least they have to do, the better, right? So because maybe they don't have the man time, or maybe they or tech time, or maybe they just feel like their time is better spent doing other things, right? But it's all fun and games until you're dragged down into the trench, I like to call it.
Yeah.
Go
Yes.
ahead. The answer is yes, as in
Yes.
to
The
all of
the island of Tahiti is looking better and better.
I agree. Although I've never been to Tahiti, maybe we'll take a side trip. Work, of course. So interesting concept passed by my my inbox the other day, which is the concept of, they kind of tackled it from two different sides. One is a cyber warranty. Okay. So like as an MSP, you run these scams through these portal. They create almost like a FICO style score for where you are out of 100%. And then basically on a per, or at least the idea was on a per endpoint quantity, they would charge you a very small fee to effectively, create this warranty up to, I think they said $1 million, which would cover things like remediation or ransomware payments, stuff like that, right? All the stuff that comes along with the, cleaning up, restoring, cybersecurity, backups, that kind of stuff. And so there was two angles to their idea. One was, hey, we're going to pitch this as a warranty, meaning the MSP is going to adopt this solution into their stack. And then kind of like SentinelOne, for example, has like a guarantee. I've never read the fine print on it, or some of the, like, you've probably seen like power, like APC style solutions, right? Where like, hey, if we're putting in our solution, if there's a power strike and there's damage, like there's some sort of up to so on warranty. So they're calling this a warranty, on the MSP to the end user, where effectively you can bundle this into your package and like present this warranty as part of your marketing sales kind of pitch bundle of services to your end customer. It's like basically your work is backed by somebody else, and if there's an issue, then you have up to this much, coverage, if you would, of what the warranty covers. And then they kind of pitched it another way where they're like, hey, it's like cybersecurity insurance, right? Hey, the regular business liability guys who offer cyber are kind of creating a lot of Swiss cheese into what's covered. They're putting a lot of exclusions in. They're making it more expensive and then covering less. And then they're like, which way do you think, would work better than not? And I sat back and I had to think about that for a minute. And I'm like, wow. You start using the word insurance and like certain things come up, right? Like number one, I'm not an insurance agent. Number two, how does it work? Like I don't want to be on, I'm not white labeling an insurance policy kind of thing, or don't know what I want to. And then on the warranty side, I'm like, well, that's interesting. Kind of puts, like the insurance policy you could present to your end customer, but they could decline it, versus you adding this warranty to your offering, which is kind of up to the MSP, right? To decide whether they wanted to include that or not, which obviously gives it this buffer room between the MSP's policy, now potentially that they would have on their own business, and maybe what the end customer's policy is. So this was very interesting. I know Darren, you we love to poke around these waters from time to time. I don't know if you want to chat about it, but I would love to hear what you guys think about this approach, right? I mean, like, again, this was just like an idea session, but I'm talking about like, I don't know, $4 an endpoint was kind of the, the endpoint, the pricing would change on the warranty side based on your score. And then obviously the insurance pitch, like, it kind of, like it's like two sides of the same coin, right? Depending on how it's presented. Tim, what do you think about that?
I think that insurance is an interesting thing because you never know whether it's any good until you have an event and it proves to be good or not.
Yeah, that's
And
the
I
worst time to
think
find
that,
out that it doesn't, right?
they're talking about adding things to stack. I mean, we all add stuff to the stack, but $4 here, $4 there, and all of a sudden you're talking about real money. And explain to your client what you're adding to the stack and why you're adding it to the stack, and this is going to be another $6 per endpoint, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Once you add a whole bunch of stuff to the stack, the client basically tunes out. So it's your responsibility as an MSP to either have a single pricing model and whatever you put in the stack is up to you, or trying to explain to the client, why am I going out for outside insurance against these types of events when that's supposed to be my job. It can, for some clients it could be okay, and for some clients it could be a tough sell.
Yeah, I mean, here's the reality, right? You could do everything right and still have a problem, right? I mean, sometimes bad guys are just smarter, or have an angle in that nobody thought about, right? And maybe the person behind the keyboard did clicked on the thing that they shouldn't have, and then all of a sudden, kaboom, right? So, most of the time, if you take out, and this is just from my experience, everybody's different. Most of the time, when you take out an insurance policy for your business, it covers you and what you're doing and the employees, underneath of your umbrella, but it doesn't necessarily extend all the way to cover your end customer in the event that they have a problem. So, then obviously they should have their own policy, and, everybody's policies are different. And I say they're probably getting more scrutinized over time, as we've all talked about how these questionnaires for these cyber liability coverages get bigger and bigger and bigger. And then there's all of these, we always hear the Keith Nelsons of the world there in Orange County, who's like, hey, I got to call somebody and talk to somebody in underwriting. Some of these questions are too black and white, right? And they don't necessarily fit on those questionnaires. So I don't know. It was an interesting idea. I mean, ultimately, it's like, hey, like, you're building a fail safe in the event that all the technology that you recommend and all the things that you're doing, kind of day to day, don't work. Then what? Right? There's got to be some sort of remediation. There's got to be some sort of cleanup. There's got to be some sort of restoration. And I just thought it was interesting, this concept. Whether it's
clients should have their own insurance, period. And that's a business decision whether they want to do that or not, and what it covers and what have you, aside from what we have as ours. But again, insurance is only as good as the carrier and what the details are. And if you said checking the box and not wanting to check the box on an inquiry, it's kind of like CMMC. There are so many questions on the CMMC that it's not clear. So it's up to the underwriter or the interpreter or the clerk who's putting it in the system or what have you to interpret differently than you. So it's tough.
Yeah. Go ahead, Darren. I heard you chiming in.
I may have missed what are they offering? What is the payout on this?
So again, it was conceptual, right? They were just asking an opinion, and it was like, you could pick the amount of coverage in the warranty and or insurance, but they were saying, hey, it's going to be based on, are you doing all of the best practices, right? They have some sort of tool that would scan what tools you have in place. Are they, covering these areas, right? Like two-factor and, MDR and XDR and malware and all this, whatever, right? And they would come up with like a, FICO style score, and that would determine how to better price, whether it be a warranty or an insurance policy. Like, they kind of pitched it in both directions. And I just thought it was intriguing. I don't know if I would want to resell or, an insurance policy, but a warranty I thought was interesting because, you can kind of decide as an MSP if you wanted to adopt that on an account by account basis. And then you would literally say, hey, I have this third party warranty that covers you, on our work in the event that you got a ransomware, you paid out, somebody spoofed, your email, and then you're sending, money to somebody somewhere else, right? Like that kind of, fraud there. And then, like remediation, ransomware, that kind of stuff. Like it kind of covered all of the, what happens if you have, the most popular kind of security events. And then the guy was like, hey, have what something, it would be like right now they were saying on a per endpoint basis, right? So let's say there's, 25 people in your organization, 25 computers, whatever, and then you would pay on a per endpoint basis for the warranty. And then the insurance, I think, would be a little bit more structured like a normal cyber policy. But like they were trying to pick, the brains of how well it would work in either direction. And I said, insurance is a fickle thing, right? Everybody thinks they have what they need. And, I don't want to be in the middle of, being an insurance broker. I was like, but a warranty like puts the decision in my hands as an MSP where I can decide if I wanted to include that or not on an account or a deal, right?
It leaves, I mean, there's a lot of questions there because it can't be insurance, first of all, because that's obviously a whole different thing. But if it's based on you're agreeing to X amount of cost, and if you have an event and you prove that you have that event, there's a fixed payout without any negotiation or back and forth. Basically it's like, okay, so here's what happens, like a tire warranty. My tire is flat. We're going to get you a new tire. Very simple transaction in that scenario. I mean, but I don't know how it would fly with the insurance carriers if, with the traditional insurance situation. So it's interesting, but I don't know how that it would actually work.
Well, I don't know if they still do it, but a while back, I think Breach Secure Now, who's still out there, right, doing their thing, had added this option to do adding cyber insurance through their program. And I thought that was always, I was like, how does that work? Like, do I just pass you on and you write a policy, or they're like, oh no, you resell it. I'm like, well, how do I resell insurance? That just something doesn't make sense there. I never really got deep enough, right? But I knew that they were at one point offering that. I don't know if they still do that.
I don't know. I have no familiarity with that. I don't know how you could resell insurance in, I guess, maybe even a state by state thing. But as far as I know, that's not something you can easily do.
Yeah, I agree. I guess I'd have to go back and actually see if that was still something they're doing. But I'm sure there was some third party underneath of it. And I'm sure, they weren't actually doing the whole thing. But anyway, yeah, it just came up. It popped up. I was thinking about it hard, and I'm like, I wonder how this works. But I don't know if it ever took off or not. I'm actually on their website right now, just on the BSN side, trying to see if they still offer that. But it looks maybe like they don't. So maybe that didn't go too far. now that I'm digging deeper on it. But anyway, interesting times, interesting concept. Moving along. So this is I call it a tongue-in-cheek one, this next topic. So an Apple engineer who quit over the return to office policy joins Google. And I'm like, okay, so, are we going to see a lot of people now when they're being forced to not sit on their couch and go back into a, cubicle, bullpen, they're just going to say no. And basically, Apple said, hey, you need to return to the office some days per week. He's saying, Tim Cook, CEO, said soon would demand a 5-day in person, right? Okay. And so the guy bounced, right? And then turned around and just said, yep, I'm going to work for Google remotely. I mean, just because of the names in there, this shows up in an article, New York Post. But do you really think this is a big thing here? Or do you really think that, some of this is a little bit behind the curve? I really think that this is already happening, but, people just don't want to work out of an office anymore. This is the new generational thing, right? They just want to work from the couch. Darren's like, I work from everywhere. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't like that policy.
Yeah, it's happening. I mean, look, everybody, there's going to be flexibility. We've seen that, and I don't know that, honestly. I don't know that that's even necessarily, only because of those companies, but it's not even like a newsworthy thing at this point. I mean, you're going to see people shift based on what they want to do and what they can, quote unquote, get away with, and that's how it's going to be. I mean, so I know plenty of people in both camps, and I think it really depends on the type of job you have and your level of needed collaboration. And it works in some cases, and it certainly doesn't in others. But there'll always be a lot of flexibility in a lot of situations going forward now.
Yeah, I agree. I just think it's funny that it's finally hitting the big guys. This one was interesting. It kind of was weird. So Google, Russia, so the Google's Russia division is going to file for bankruptcy because the Russian government seized their Russian bank account. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. So the free services will still work, right? Google search engine, YouTube, Gmail, Maps, Android, Play. But like, I guess Google ads and other paid for Google services are going to stop. There you go, including our ads, networks globally for all Russian-based advertisers, new cloud signups, payment functionality for most of our services, monetization features for YouTube. All are going to stop working. So imagine if you were using Google Cloud based out of Russia. I guess you got to move to another provider because they're going to shut it off. And I guess AdWords are maybe not going to be your friend. You're going to have to move to another search engine. We always kind of like, we think these companies are global, right? And like nobody can touch them, but hey, the governments do have control. So I just thought that was interesting that Google Russia is basically saying, yup, got to turn out the lights. Can't pay the bills, guys. This was apparently over the disagreement with the Ukraine incident, apparently. So, and then like maybe not tech news, but we've all seen all these companies that have left Russia. But I think 3 or 4 days ago, McDonald's said that after 30 years, they're pulling out of the Russian territory. And I was like, oh, okay. 30 years. It's a long time to, overnight decide, nope, we're out. So I guess companies with big bank accounts can decide to do that. But I can imagine smaller companies would have a much harder time doing that. So obviously brick and mortar, right? But Google servers, I guess you're not going to park that stuff in Russia, right? So little funny one there, I guess. So obviously, we all have dealt with this at one level or another, right? Robocalls. So,
robocalls seemingly are.
Oh, thank you. So, basically, they've been working now with all the domestic carriers to do robocall kind of mitigation, and now the FCC is going to start working on international robocalling, that come into the U.S. Kind of phone network, right? So this is becoming a little bit interesting because people's numbers are getting like, there's no centralization to this whole program, okay? Like every carrier, especially the cell phone carrier and the cable carriers and what have you, are running their own version of whatever the mitigation is on this robodialing. And then what's starting to happen now is that your number could get flagged, and then there's no one place to go argue, of something that's been flagged improperly, right? Like all of a sudden where you're getting scam likely or spam or whatever. And it's becoming a little bit of a problem. Have you guys seen this, right? Where like all it takes is one or two people on their cell phone carrier or their provider to flag a number, and then like you got to work a lot harder to try and figure out where the number was flagged and how. It's almost like email address blacklisting, right? And that there's like Spam House and all these other lists, right, that kind of track this. But unfortunately, this is happening at the carrier by carrier level, and there's companies popping up now who are starting to try and API into all of the carriers to try and give you like a consolidated, a comprehensive, hey, is your number on a list flagged or somewhere or not? But I mean, it's still relatively new. What do you guys think about this? You running into this?
I'll take that one. We have not in our client base. I mean, we all hate robocalls, but we haven't run into numbers from people being blacklisted because they were spoofed. We know it happens, but it hasn't happened in our environment. So we're just sort of waiting for the first one. And I agree with you. Where do you go to get them, whitelisted? I don't know. That's a good question. You started the thought process in my mind that we need to look into that because someday it's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, so basically the algorithms that all of these carriers are employing on their own networks, right? So let's say you're a Cox Communications, let's say you're a Comcast, let's say you're a Verizon, let's say you're a T-Mobile, whatever, CenturyLink, pick your carrier, right? They're running this math on their own internal traffic, right? And then they could flag your number. Think about this. If you've made more than 50 phone calls with the outbound caller ID being the same number to a specific carrier's network, that could flag your number as a spam number. Nobody reported it. Nobody went to their app and hit no, block, whatever. Just because you've made more than 50 calls per day with that outbound caller ID to a specific carrier's network, that may be enough to flag your number as spam, and you didn't even know. All of a sudden, you're trying to figure out why a month later nobody's answering your phone calls, and then you finally find somebody says, "Oh, I didn't pick it up because it said spam." So this could become its own little sub-industry, I think. I really feel like people are going down that road, and I do believe there's other carriers who now will charge you a little bit extra for you to show your logo and your caller ID on the mobile phone specifically, right? So basically they're like, hey, instead of us passing just caller ID, name, and number, you can actually pay a premium. And then when you call, we're going to present on the Android or the iOS, your logo and whatever name that you want to show.
Yeah, but is that carrier agnostic? I mean, you have all the different carriers. So what do you do? I mean, do you have to come and do some kind of an agreement, or does one company sign agreements with all the carriers? I mean, all the carriers is a lot of carriers, and then that's just the US. What happens with all of our clients who work in China and work in Australia and work in Taiwan and what have you? That seems like a huge can of worms.
It is. And I believe what's going to happen is that this is going to turn into a separate own little product, if nothing other than it's becoming its own category, that people didn't even realize that this is a thing, right? So that, just call it caller ID reputation is now going to be like its own separate item on top of all the other telephony stuff that you're doing. And it may not be super popular now unless you are a larger company maybe and have a lot of numbers and they get flagged, or a call center or something like that. But yeah, I think it's going to become a thing. And I think people will pay for it. Like, we've looked at a couple companies that, you list your numbers and then every day they run a check. And then if your numbers come up as flagged across the different carriers, you get a report saying, hey, yeah, you have been flagged, and I don't know. It's because, the question is, how much would you pay for it? Well, just like anything else, right? Hey, if it's not a problem, I'm not going to pay for it. But when it becomes a problem, I'm going to pay a lot because I need people to answer my phone calls. So definitely an area to keep an eye on, right? 1 second. Let me see if I can pull up one thing here on this because I thought it was intriguing. Let's see if I can find it real quick without taking too much time. But I know there's a couple of companies here in the States on the cell phone side where you can, here we go. I think this could be it. That's the one. Check this out there, Tim. Reach more customers with a branded call. Add your company name, logo, and call reason to your outbound calls and watch your answer rate skyrocket.
That makes total sense. I mean, we get on a personal level, I get calls from an installers or from a technician from Terminix, for example, calling me from a personal cell phone number. Nothing comes through. I ignore it. And then, we tried to call you to schedule. It's not professional, guys. And so this is interesting. I mean, if you're an outbound call center or do significant outbound calling, this makes total sense.
Yeah. So basically, like, they say, hey, instead of suspected scam, instead of just a regular caller ID, you're literally going to push through a little blurb about what the call is about and the logo and the phone number.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I don't know. I haven't even figured out what this costs, but I can totally see a company, willing to pay for something like this in order to kind of, get their calls answered.
Yeah, I agree.
So stay tuned. And this was just one I stumbled upon, but I mean, hey, we called you. Hey, you were marked as spam. I didn't answer. Oh, okay. I mean, even at the help desk level, right? That could be frustrating. I ran into a company the other day who said that their initial line of tech support was chat only, and that they really didn't offer a call-in option at any level, chat. And I said, sounds cool, sounds modern, but if I'm having a problem, I want to talk to somebody. I want to talk to a human being in real time. I want to pick up the phone and call. Like, I'm not just going to chat with my credit card company when all my transactions are declined and I can't do anything. I'm going to probably want to call somebody and say, what's going on? So I can only imagine that, like we've all, we've been in the IT business for a long time, right? Darren, Tim, I can't imagine, like, maybe you can cut of 100% of the way you communicate with your customers. Maybe half of it can be electronic, right? Text, email, chat. But there's still going to be the stuff that really it's just more efficient to be on the phone, number one. Number two, maybe it's a more higher priority and you're going to need to talk to somebody. Could you imagine offering no voice option for contacting your team? I can't.
We would lose half our clients.
Half.
Yeah, that doesn't work. And anybody, if you can pull it off, good for you, but you don't have the same clients that we do. So, I mean, it's just a pipe dream.
Totally agree with
Okay.
Darren.
Okay. Fair enough. I agree. I think that you can't just shut off the phone route. And, I would almost say people would pay more to be able to access you by phone. If you're only offering chat by chance. But yeah, it was very, very interesting.
Interestingly, on this topic, just as an aside, I get on my staff regularly when, I mean, obviously we chat on every topic and everything is text-based and whatnot, but in so many cases, it's just much easier and a lot more efficient to spend 30 seconds on the phone versus 30 minutes messaging back and forth. And whether it's with I encourage them to talk to clients on the phone all the time, but even internally, it's something that I'm often saying, stop typing and start talking. And I'm very big on that.
Yes.
I agree. As much as we're in the technology business, humans do business with humans, and I appreciate self-service and I appreciate instant messaging and chat and SMS, but and they're nice. But at the end of the day, when the rubber meets the road, I need to talk to somebody. I mean, I imagine people can text 911 now in a lot of areas, but if there's a problem, I think I want to talk to somebody on the other line, on the other end of 911. And subsequently, I'm sure you could text AAA or some sort of tow truck company to come pick you up. But yeah, still would really want to talk to certain people. And especially, like, imagine if you got into a car accident and your insurance company said, oh yeah, just text us. I don't think that's
one of the basic tenets of customer service that we were trained in way back in, I don't want to remember how far back, is that you need to talk to your client in the way that the client wants to be talked to. And that could be chat, that could be email, that could be, snail mail back then, but very often it's voice. And we feel the same way. So we understand when we're trying to get tech support, and all we can do is get text. And the person on the other side of the text is obviously taking care of 5 different sessions at the same time. So basically when they get back to yours, it's like, huh? So yeah, I'm sorry for venting, but yeah, true.
Yeah, 100%. So here's another one in the thread here. So Microsoft previews a totally redesigned Outlook for Windows that more closely mirrors the Outlook web client. Has anybody seen this? If you're on like the early preview setting in Office 365, you may already be on this. But this definitely, like, they park everything in the sidebar. They kind of like make your ribbons a little bit smaller. Kind of feels a little bit more like Outlook Web Access. Anyone check this out yet? Or even by the look of it, do you think that this is going to fly? Because it looks like this is what's coming. They're just
gonna
going to
make it
push
fly.
this as an update.
They're going to make it fly. They have to have a uniform interface at some point, and they're going to make it work.
Yeah. So it looks like try it now, right? In the upper right-hand corner, you could probably flip to the new version if you toggle that in the, thing. But yeah, I mean, it's the, did you notice that in Outlook Web Access, when you want to go move an email to a folder, you can then search for the folder and just press go. Whereas in the regular, like that was one feature they finally added to Outlook Online where I'm like, oh, that's pretty neat. Like I don't have to go scroll and park this email. Like I can just, move it, just type and move, which was kind of cool. So yeah, I mean, and then obviously Outlook for Mac there was always a slightly different view, right, for Mac users than Windows users, right? And then it looks like they're finally starting to, after decades, I feel like finally starting to unify this. But yeah, you know how this is going to work, right? People are gonna be like, oh, it looks differently. and then they're gonna be like, where's that button? Where did it go? So but yeah, hey, heads up, new Outlook coming to you soon. You might want to go press try it now before your customers automatically get it. And you say, yeah, no, it's cool. Another one out there today that I thought was good. So Android, iPhone. I'm an iPhone guy, but whatever. I saw this pop up. So apparently the Apple App Store will allow subscription people, like when you pay for the subscription through iTunes or on your phone, to increase the amount of that subscription on the renewal, on the auto renewal, without telling you. So yeah, that's, applies to everybody, right? So if you're doing, I know a lot of the streaming services do subscriptions through iTunes, and maybe you have an app that's on, that's on a reoccurring basis. So you might want to double check what you're subscribed to in the App Store, because how would you like to be able to do that, guys? Hey, we're raising our prices. Oh, we didn't tell you. It just automatically hit your card. Probably not the best, but hey, just a heads up there, because that could be a good one. And this one was kind of cool. I know these are Apple related, but yeah, just was in my feed. Apple's hidden setting to instantly make your video and audio calls sound better. I was like, oh, what's this? Said today I learned there's a newish feature buried in the control center that instantly improves the quality of your microphone during calls, whether you're on audio only calls or on video. It's called voice isolation. Works on most iPhones, iPads, Macs. So if you're running iOS 15, or I'm not a Mac person, but Mac OS Monterey, anything that supports spatial audio seems to be also support voice isolation. So I thought that was interesting. I didn't even know this setting was there, but a wide spectrum here, voice isolation and wide spectrum, they said. And what it does, basically, when you enable voice isolation, your device begins to aggressively process the audio coming into your mic in order to remove background noise. When I turned on the setting on my iPhone 12, my dog barking 20 feet away completely disappeared, and so did nearly all the sounds of traffic. So that's interesting. Cool little feature there. Voice isolation could be a cool one. I don't know if they have a subsequent feature on the Android phones, but this is kind of cool. It does say it doesn't support every app, but on the mobile devices, Snapchat, WhatsApp, Slack, Signal, Instagram. Oh, sorry, Sade, not TikTok. So check it out. Voice isolation. Seems like that's coming to a lot of the mobile products for sure. And yeah, just killing that background. Another quick scary one here in mobility land. I know, Apple related. Your iPhone can be hacked with malware even when it's switched off. I was like, what? So found that a chip that enables Bluetooth can be exploited and hacked in order to install malware on the device without the user's permission, even with the phone switched off. So comes in light of the new iOS 15 update, which includes a feature that allows you to be able to locate an iPhone even when it's powered off. Apple's claimed that this new feature will enhance security of users because it allows them to find a lost or stolen phone even when somebody powers it off. Like, I've actually seen this before, by the way. People shut off their phone. Like, a bad guy steals your phone from a crowded place, and then you can't find it on Find Your iPhone. I'm sure there's an ulterior motive to this. Your phone's always on, even when it's off, because then, you know, Big Brother can find you too. But that's very interesting because this feature kind of keeps the phone on, even when it's off. If you are nearby enough, you can maybe have your phone hacked by Bluetooth. Can you imagine going into a bar or a concert or a restaurant and somebody has one of these Bluetooth hacking things? You get a lot of people all at once. So there you go. Guess you're gonna have to get one of those like bags where you throw your phone in and it's like, you know, the Faraday cage for your phone. And last one in iPhone land. I know I must have been on an iPhone blog somewhere. Who knew you could turn a family member's iPhone alarm off? I'm like, you can? So apparently if it turns out you can turn off other people's alarms with your own iPhone, so long as those people are part of your family sharing account. Family sharing allows you and up to 5 other people to share services like Apple Music, Apple TV, as well as locate family members' missing devices. If you live with random roommates, you likely aren't part of the same family sharing space, won't be able to take advantage of this trick. But many of us live with family members or close friends that use the program, so there are plenty of us out there who can give this a try. I was like, oh, okay. So you can actually go into the family sharing app and actually turn off somebody else's alarm. That would be maybe a bad trick, especially if you're trying to, somebody else has to wake up on an alarm for other things, you know, like work. But those were all the funnies that I found in the threads today. And I was like, oh, I'm going to bring these up today in today's session. Darren, where you at this week, buddy?
I'm busy as usual. I have nothing notable to report here. I'm going to send you something though that I came across I found interesting. Hold on, let me email it to you.
Okay.
So, yeah, hold on.
Darren's also looking at always sending interesting things over. Krikor, you've been quiet today. How are you doing today, buddy?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. Doing good. I'm not sure about Outlook web access. Look,
you're not sold on this new Outlook?
No, I'm an old guy. You know, I'm one of those end users.
I got you. Yeah, it's like, hey, Outlook's fine until like your profile's so big that it crashes and you got to rebuild it again, right?
Yeah.
It's definitely been morphing over time. I'm not quite on that newest version. I think I'm on like one release above, like before that, because I am on Try It Now in my Outlook. But I've already seen like the changes, right? Like, so I still have my ribbon expanded up top, but like all of the things collapse on the left. And it's not quite like web access, but if the next version comes out, it'll be a lot closer. I agree. I'm still I know a lot of people who are Outlook web access people. They've never used the actual installed Fat client. I'm still an Outlook guy myself. And there's all these cool plugins that still work in Outlook that for some reason don't work on Outlook Online. I use a lot of those. I definitely use like 4 or 5 of them looking right now. So yeah. Can only imagine how that's gonna go if they force the agenda all the way to the other side.
Yeah, I mean the calls we're gonna get, it's gonna be horrendous.
Yeah, they're like, why is the button disappear? Why does it look like this?
Well, we've had that happen already with the people that have the coming soon thing turned on. If in Outlook, and all of a sudden it'll change where something was, and everything I've seen has been really kind of I don't know. I don't agree with the direction Microsoft seems to go with this stuff, but as usual, we are at their mercy for these changes. I don't know who's curating these, but it is frustrating.
Well, it's interesting, right? They keep on raising the prices and they're like, oh, we've done all this work. And it's like, well, some of the stuff that you're doing, we don't want. Like, where's your user groups, guys? Come on. Where do we get to put feedback in the Microsoft land? Is anyone listening? This is what Darren sent over. I'm going to share with the crowd. Why is Google Cloud providing security for AWS and Azure users? What's this article, Darren? What are we reading here, pal?
I just found it interesting that, because technically they're all, those are the three big competitors, and for Google to be, providing a security stance or product for their competitors is just interesting. Given the nature of those products. So I don't do anything in this space, but I just found it to be interesting.
Yeah. I talked a little bit about some of this program from Google on Tuesday session, where they've effectively taken all of the internal security stuff that they've written and they've created it as an open source security platform that anyone can use. And I was like, if you're putting it out there for the world to see, what happens with the bad guys who get in there and then start to, do bad things with it? But effectively, that program, that open source security platform that Google's putting out, can be used with anything, right? And open source security almost sounds scary when I say that phrase. But yeah, no, I mean, from an upsell or marketing standpoint, sounds good in the headline, right? Hey, I'm hooking you up with security, even if the other guys aren't doing it. So yeah, it's a catchy article right there, my friend. I mean, at the end of the day, have any of you really deployed full, even on the small side, right? Totally in the cloud, like virtual server, virtual desktop, like not doing any local processing at all. Literally could be using a keyboard, a mouse, and a monitor and nothing else. No?
No, it's all hybrid for us.
Yeah. For the first time, I'm just been helping out like a small company who just want a small app server running Windows and like 6 virtual desktops. That's it. Like nothing crazy, very basic. We're like, oh, let's give it a try. Let's try Azure. I may have said it in an earlier session. Big props to Tony and the guys over at Nerdeo, right? Because like their tool really makes all of the complexity to Azure and setting that whole setup up just a lot easier to deal with. Like stupidly easier to deal with. And I was just really appreciative that, I was able to talk to those guys a little bit and see how it worked. And I was like blown away. It's like, it could take like a half a day to a day's worth of, engineering time and do it in like an hour, which was pretty impressive. Yeah, I just, it's so many MSPs still have, and, not to use the word data again, because I know I'll get Darren fired up, but is why the companies like Datos are so popular still out there, right? Because, there's all this stuff that's parked all over the place. And like, when you ask the majority of MSPs, are you deploying everything in the cloud? Like maybe 2 or 3 hands out of a room of 10 will say yes. And the rest of the room is still doing a little bit of everything. And it's not all parked in one cloud provider. So it'll be interesting to see like over the next maybe 3 years, right? How much that changes or not. But then you see cloud regions go down so often, you almost get scared, right? To park them in any one area without, multiple data centers, right? But then of course, then it gets a lot more expensive to do that. We all cry when the software companies that we use go down, right? Where it's like, hey, I can't log in. What's broken in Amazon? The same would go for us, right?
I have one more unrelated thing from this week since you asked what's going on. So
sure. Let's see it. What do you got for me, man?
We went to spec a Dell server out that we needed, and it was going back to what somebody said earlier. I think it was a 45 to 90 day lead time for what we wanted, which was a pretty simple configuration. I had came across Carbon Systems, which is a MSP only hardware vendor.
They're on the
And-
Channel Strong tour right now, Carbon.
Yes, indeed. So I called them yesterday, signed up. Guy got right back to us and had a half-hour call with what we needed. We spec'd out a server, which we ordered today, and it'll be to us next week at, I think, probably 30-40% less than what it was going to be from Dell. And I'm a Dell reseller for a really long time. But just as I will see how it actually performs, but I'm pretty optimistic.
Here we go. Carbon Systems, business ready hardware solutions for MSP and IT services providers. So like, how does the warranty work, Darren?
We got a 5-year warranty with it. We'll see. I'm not too worried. I think that they're going to stand behind it, and we will see what happens. I mean, they're using good hardware, so I'm pretty confident. We will see.
Like, is the warranty? I'm probably not on-site support, right? Because Dell outsources that to a third party in every area, right?
Yes, they do.
Are they doing the same thing, or how's that work?
That is a good question. I don't even know. I let the conversation go to the person that was speccing it out, so, and they had that, but I know that when I saw the order, it had a 5-year extended warranty at a very reasonable price. So we shall see. I'll get clarification on that.
Oh, look at this on the desktops, 3-year advanced replacement.
Yeah, that was one of the things that is nice for laptops, I think, and desktops. But I don't know. I'm excited.
That's cool. Yeah, so check these guys out. They're literally on the Channel Strong tour right now. I hadn't had a chance to talk to them because I'm not on it this go around. My other traveler decided to jam out there, but backed by standard 3-year warranty. Seems pretty neat. 3-year advanced replacement, even on the laptops. Wow. Interesting. And what kind of server, is it, how beefy was it?
It was it's not as it's not very beefy in the scheme of things. It ended up being about two drive arrays and 32 gigs of RAM. It's really doing basic, really just doing file, no databases or anything like that running on it. But it was, we still want it to last. This should be the last server that this client will ever need. That's our goal. So, it was really reasonably priced. So,
wow. Well,
Famous last words there, Darren.
there it is. The last server they'll ever need. I'm gonna write that down. Today's 5/19. Yep, I'll write it down.
The other thing, George, with Carbon is you'll find that they have pretty nice laptops, I understand. So I'm going to get an NFR unit to check it out. But we saw him on tour end of last year, and he was showing off some of the hardware. Looks really nice.
I love the idea, right? Because I feel like we get lost in the major manufacturer game. You know what I mean? And with all the lead times, who knows, Tim? Maybe they have some monitors for you, buddy.
Wouldn't that be nice?
all you gotta ask. You never know. But yeah, crazy. I'll have to deep down. We'll get some feedback from Darren, and Creek Course sounds like you've been dealing with these guys. But hey, another option out there. I mean, how many Dell servers can be 6 months out? Forget Dell servers. How about Lenovo laptops with the 4G modem built in, so you can just put in the SIM card? I feel like this should just be readily available, and they're out like 4 months.
It's
I don't know.
Yeah,
crazy.
it's really chip specific. I mean, there's certain things that make no sense, and other equipment that's so close and so similar that we've done substitutions for some of our bigger clients, and they've accepted that. But it's really weird. I mean, there's certain components that are non-existent.
Wow.
Docking stations of a certain variety are at 7,000 Cinex, and other ones are 4 months out. It's very strange.
Hey, newsflash, guys, start building stuff in the country. I think that's the trick. I think when we were out on the Channel Strong tour last time, Intel is building a chip factory in Ohio. How about them apples? So that could change things.
Wow.
all those
Cool.
cars sitting there in the parking lots of the world not being sold because there's literally a chip shortage. Wonder how that works when like the version year changes on a car and the car hasn't been shipped to a dealer yet because it's missing a CPU.
Well, there, some of the dealer that I don't know if we talked about on this. I know Audi is doing a, option delete, certain things that you would need these chips. There's an option to delete them, so your driver assistance and other things, you choose the option. They give you a little money back and they give you the car without those features, and you can never get them because it's not just a matter of popping a chip in. It's more complicated than that. So, so they can still ship you the car just without the stuff that requires those chips.
Wow.
Yeah. And on some, anyway. But another thing about carbon is that obviously the hardware, I don't know where all of it is built, but the actual machines are manufactured, assembled, I should say, in the US. So that's nice.
Hey, made in the USA. Put the sticker on the back, man. Appreciate you guys for jumping on. We will keep on doing these Tuesdays, Thursdays, 1:00 Eastern time, online, 24 hours a day, mspinitiative.com. And stay tuned. Like, we're literally in the middle of planning a bunch of stuff on the back end of the year. I was actually on the road yesterday on a little bit of that, but fun times as conference season will eventually explode on Q3 and Q4 of this year.
Thank you, George.
You got it, guys. Have a good one.